see white lies dancing between the lines. She's an atheist. Carousels in her mind, spinning all in her eyes. She's an atheist.
Hello and welcome to the Digital Freethought Radio Hour on WOZO Radio 103.9 LPFM right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Today is Sunday, May 30th, 2021. I'm Larry Rhodes, or Doubter5. And as usual, we have our co-host, Wombat, on the line with us. Hello, Wombat.
Woo! I'm missing some teeth, but I'm still here. Let's go.
Okay, and our guests today are Doubtfire, Dread Pirate Higgs, and George 2.5, Brooklyn. He'll be joining us here in a little bit. Digital Freethought Radio Hour is a talk radio show about atheism, free thought, rational thought, humanism, and the sciences. And conversely, we'll also talk about religions, religious faiths, gods, holy books, and superstition. Wombat, what are we going? What's our topic today?
So we're going to be talking about how to talk to an atheist in front of an audience. And I thought it'd be a good way to talk about rules of engagement when you bring an atheist onto your show to have a conversation. Because a lot of us have had interviews or have interviewed former atheists, and they were all really well done interviews. So I was thinking, how can we crystallize all of those rules of engagement in one friendly video so that the next time a pastor wants to have an atheist on the show, there's no surprises or missteppings along the way. Right. But before we get into it, we do have our own Pastafarian pastor extraordinaire. Pastor extraordinaire. Anyway, Dread Pirate, lead us in with our weekly invocation.
Absolutely. So this is the Pastafarian prayer of knowledge. Grant the flying spaghetti monster thy sauce, and in sauce noodles, and in noodles meatballs, and in meatballs knowledge, and from knowledge of what is tasty, and from knowledge of what is tasty the love of spaghetti, and from spaghetti the love of the flying spaghetti monster.
Amen. Very, very good. I've always heard a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing for two reasons, right? Hey, I want to do a quick review of how everyone's been doing over the last couple of weeks. It's been a while since we actually had a chance to meet up. I had some emergency dental work, and if anyone had been wondering what's going on, had a wisdom tooth came out, cracked another tooth at the bottom, and so they have to take out the wisdom tooth and the cracked tooth, but all good now, and I'm looking forward to getting a fake tooth put in. I get to choose my own color. I think I'm going to go for silver. I want to go for like a piratey thing. Who knows?
Hey, right.
Yeah, gold. Yeah.
Oh, is that how they do it? I thought, okay, I thought that was the myth. We'll have to go to Dread to sort that out. Dread, you are here. What is the appropriate pirate color?
I think it's gold. I think
it's gold. It's gold. We're rocking gold.
Gold is more malleable, right? You know, so.
Okay. I thought you would want to sell the gold and just get the silver to chew on. Like that's you can make money off of gold. That's my thing.
Maybe the gold is for the front teeth, where you don't have to do a lot of chewing.
There you go. Yeah.
And people see it.
Okay, cool. Dread, how you been in the meanwhile? How's the last 2 weeks been treating you? How's your pursuit of chaos?
I'm still working on it. I just wrote my latest letter to ICBC. He had claimed that the last time, remember I came and I showed you that little scarf there?
Yeah.
So that's a permissible hair accessory. And anyway, he wrote back and said that I had gone in there claiming accommodation under the religious policy, which was not in fact the case. I just went in there wearing a hair accessory.
Next time you got to record this as you walk in, like the second you walk in or something.
Absolutely.
Like that.
And that's exactly right. I've actually ordered a temporary tattoo with that same symbol. So I'm going to go in again with the scarf. And if they say, no, you can't have it, I'm going to take it off and say, here I am.
And I got a tattoo. Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it.
What are you going to do? Are you saying I can't get a driver's license now because I got a tattoo on my face?
Exactly.
I love that you keep pushing it. So every experiment, Eric, you would agree on this, needs a control. And the control is a Christian cross on a headband or a Christian tattoo. And if they get through and you don't.
I am trying to conscript one of our fellow Pastafarians to do just that. So
if any of us were in Canada, we would be right there in line with you. That sounds like a fun. That sounds like a fun weekend. Just like,
I appreciate
you want to almost get not arrested. Yeah, I love that. I'm totally for it.
I also got my RPAS license, remotely piloted aircraft system.
Oh, cool.
I am now licensed to fly drones in controlled airspace.
Yeah, but those are big
Very,
ones,
very
aren't
cool.
they? The big drones.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Nice. Very, very cool. Boudreaux, you know you got that ghost coming up behind you. What's going on there? You're con a Japanese horror movie.
So my son had his 10th birthday this weekend, and my daughter set up a cardboard fort complete with a mail slot for delivering mail and doors and LEDs. I think it's so. I haven't broken it down yet. Don't have the heart to do it. So.
But have you spent any time in there yourself?
I took the tour. That's all about it. So.
Sure.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been playing this thing. Can I point to it?
Yeah.
Same here.
We've got a gig.
Is it
We've
a
got a
bass?
gig. We have a gig planned. Yeah, been playing the bass. I'm getting ready for a show we're gonna do on Thursday.
Very cool.
In person?
In
Like
person.
outside? What's going on?
No, it's a indoor place that's things have been really starting to relax here.
Nice.
CDC is saying fully vaccinated people can, basically kind of carry on almost like normal. So so playing live again, it's crazy. I don't know.
So along with that, and not to put a downer on it, but I went to get a pizza yesterday and I was driving back home. I went past our local movie theater and I saw that it was completely shut down. And I was like, yeah, it's great to be able to go outside and be outside and like get food and like feel secure in the fact that I'm out in public for trivial things like pizza and I don't have a face mask, but there's still the impact, left and right, going up and down. But I'm glad that like we are steadily getting back towards that normality, so like I will give up movie theaters for that, though I am sad that we don't have as many as before. But it looks like you got your own personal one, and I think that's that'll be a testament of just like, oh, but it's not on a phone. What are you talking about watching movies? That's so bizarre. Yeah. Good luck in your gig. I know you don't need it, but one last question: Have you been meticulously practicing like nonstop now during COVID? Like, have you just been drilling on the bass scales and all that stuff, or what?
No, to be honest, without having a gig on the books, I get pretty lazy. I did those covers and different things goofing around. But if I don't have something on the calendar, like we're playing a gig, I get pretty lazy. So, but I have been the last week. I've been memorizing, learning, practicing. So yeah, I'm better now. But yeah, I need that thing on the calendar.
Everybody needs goals. And when I work out, I don't say I'm working out. I say I'm training, if that helps for anything. It puts me in the right mindset. So I totally agree with that. Scott, I want to know everything about you in the last 2 weeks. How's your family been? How's the music parade of connected instruments going? Tell me about it, man.
Oh, man. So that's going well. We're still recording more music, but also the second follow-up for the Deborah Magone project with the Grammy writers and things like that. So we finished recording that. So it's all done. It's about to be released again on the same record label. And this one's more of a positive message, how to make the world a better place, encourage people to, be positive and treat each other well. It's a real positive, uplifting type of dance song.
Sure.
So that's what that's all about. And also on another front, I've been building out a new exploring epistemology show. So I had my first show yesterday, interviewing and doing a little SE chat with former atheists who just converted over to Islam, and we all know who he is. And so it went through some questions trying to figure out his process for why he converted over. And so that was pretty interesting. So
I want to know all about that. And in the next 10 minutes, I want to hear all about it for sure.
Who was that?
Yes, a guy was formerly known as Justin Downing. He was kind of up and coming. He had a YouTube channel called Empathetic Atheist. And so he would talk to different theists and kind of challenge them and talk to them, but in a nice, cordial way. So his thing was a little different in the fact that it was not so toxic in the conversation. But he had Muslims that joined his group and his YouTube channel, and they eventually got to him and converted him over to Islam. And so now he dumped the channel and he's like 100% Muslim. He changed his name to Khalil Allah, and he's like against atheism and debates atheists and tries to get them to see the light and stuff like that. So, you know, so I wanted to interview him and see what's going on with that. You know?
Did he give any kind of reason why he converted back to believing in God?
It is so funny. If you watch the video, he gives absolutely no reasons. The only thing he says is that it just seems like Islam makes more sense than Christianity does.
Now,
Now he wasn't a
hold
Christian.
on. Now, hold on a second. I feel like if you were to tell me, just because I know Christianity so well, I think it's more of like you moved me from one ambiguous set of things that I know aren't true to another brand new ambiguous set of things that I haven't had a chance to investigate yet. And this seems a lot better because it makes more sense to me. And I'd be like, yeah, but when you start delving into that, it's just a layer and it's the exact same cake.
It was
creating one delusion for another.
That's what it is.
I had like a million
it's a strawberry cake too.
I had no idea he was going to say something like that. So when he said that, like there was like a million SE questions that came to mind. Like, which one do I go with? And the one that I decided to go with was, well, if something is internally consistent, if a worldview is internally consistent 100%, does that make it true?
Yes.
And
does
he said
consistency
no.
necessarily mean truth?
No.
Right.
I said, like, if Harry Potter is 100%, you know, internally consistent, does that make Harry Potter books true?
Right.
And he admitted, no, it doesn't.
Though you got to. Though in my head,
expecting that either.
I'm surprised you gave that as an answer. Though there's so many minefields when it comes to stuff like that it's like, I love the fact that we're taking different approaches. I've been trying to simplify my SC approach, but we can talk more about that. I want to get to George Brown. How you been? I haven't seen you in the last couple of weeks. What's going on with you?
Honestly, I can't remember at all, but I want to comment about my experience with a Muslim, because I always wanted to meet and know a Muslim, and they're kind of thin on the ground here in the United States. You know, my paths and Muslims' paths have just not crossed very much,
especially in East Tennessee.
Well, not even here. I mean, I'm talking about California right now.
Oh, really?
And so I was working for a .com on a project, and a manager there was a Muslim, and we hit it off. We started forming a friendship, and we started going out to eat lunch every day, downtown San Francisco, and he was very devout, you know, very religious guy. Now, I come from a Jewish background, and I've always been an atheist. I was raised an atheist, but I didn't just like throw that in his face. He was talking to me about how much he respected Jewish people. And this sounded very interesting. The fellow was from Lebanon, you know, where they have a lot of strife going on for many, many years. And he's saying, I respect the Jewish religion. I respect Jewish people. I think, wow, this is really going to be interesting. I want to hear what he has to say. But it really boomerang. He said, I respect everybody if they're sufficiently religious. I don't care what their religion is. And again, I'm going, wow.
If they're sufficiently religious, I don't care what their religion is?
Yes, that is what he said, Ty. And
George Brown with the new show topics. Continue.
You know, and I was thinking, man, this is going to be one interesting guy to talk with. But then it came up about my own religious involvement, and he decided that I was not sufficiently religious. That was the end of our friendship. He wouldn't talk to me again.
Oh no, he had such an obscure standard, and yet He already. Oh, what a
Yeah,
bizarre.
so here is all these years later, and I'm still in the same position. I still want to, and here I am in this little town halfway between Knoxville and Chattanooga, and I have seen some Muslim people walking around. So, what am I going to do? Stay tuned. I don't know what the answer is yet.
George, I have so many comments about that story, but I do want to get to Larry first, and then we can round out our "How's everybody been doing?" section. Larry, how you been doing for the last 2 weeks? What's going on with you?
Doing fine. Just staying around the house. I did do one atheist table in downtown Knoxville, down in they call it Cruch Park, Krutch, and I had like 4 people in 2 hours, one of which was an atheist. And I said, "Wow, I didn't know you had a group, had a table." I told them all about the Atheist Society of Knoxville. But the other 3 people were
great name for a group, best group name, period, because it has "ask" in the name. It's such a great name. It has atheists and it has "ask," and you're like, "Oh, this is perfect. That's the best ring. Everyone should have that."
Especially for a group in Knoxville.
Yes, it's wonderful.
But the 3 other people were believers. We had a short chat. One of them was very short. He told me he was a believer. I told him I wasn't, and that was about it. but he didn't know what an atheist was, so I had to explain it to him. Actually, I had to explain it to 2 people.
Sure.
So been staying busy.
Hey, did you get that motorcycle ride in that you were telling me about?
I did.
Nice. How was it?
I've got a couple of them in over the last couple of weeks. They were great. It was a little hot out there, but it's preternaturally hot for this time of year, like 88 degrees in May. But today it rebounded. It's the high of 68, 69.
It's a beautiful day. I'm looking forward to
it's gorgeous. The sun is shining.
Running outside.
Yeah.
So, Dread Pirate, go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted everyone to say hi to Loma. He's watching our live stream right now.
Hey, Loma.
Hi, Loma.
Friend of the show. All right, so where we're going to deep dive first is we're going to get into Scott's topic because I think it melds well with the topic of the show. But I do have a hot take, and I want to hear everyone's opinion on this hot take. George's friend who wants everyone to be sufficiently religious so that he could be friends with them. I feel like that's a guy who's just looking for either just looking for someone who's not going to challenge his point of view. It's like, hey, we're all religious. It's not a big deal, and I can assume I'm right, but as long as everyone's religious, it's easier for me to assume that everyone's slightly wrong and I'm correct than to have someone have the exact opposite opinion of me of like, I have no religion at all. I don't find any of it worthwhile to believe in, because then I have to start asking myself some hard questions about why is this guy not fitting in my worldview, and I don't want to change my worldview, so I won't be friends with you. Or more nefarious, here's the hot take. He's looking to see if the booster pack of just, how can I manipulate this guy into thinking like how I think? Because if he comes into me with this weird, ambiguous set of morals, I can tweak that so that he can start to be on my team. And I need someone who's just close enough to make my job easier. But if they have no work, then it's not worth being their friend, because that's the path that I'm on. I'm trying to get people on my team. That's my quest in life. Hot take, Dret.
I did not get that sense from talking with him. We did have lunch for a few times. I have to say it was a very exciting project. It was a lot of people, a new .com that was beginning to take off on the internet like a storm. And the manager of the department I was in was Lebanese. And I have to say, in all the time I had been working in high tech, he was the absolute best boss I had ever worked for.
George, let me see if I can get some feedback from Boudreaux, and we come right back to this. But Boudreaux, I want to know, sufficiently religious. I'm okay if you're religious as long as you're sufficiently religious. What in the world do you think that means?
I had a different hot take on it, I suppose, and I'm not sure if this is more aligned with how he was thinking, but you kind of, I encounter a lot of people at Summit sometimes that take this kind of safe road of, they're not really willing to say they don't believe in a God, but they really don't believe in any of the Bibles or any of the scripture. So they're just spiritual, you know, and I feel like if you're spiritual, you're pretty much okay with every religion, right? It's a little more a safer way to, and it's certainly a very liberal, politically liberal stance. You know, you're kind of
politically correct.
Yeah, you're okay. You're okay with, you know, a gay Christian or a you know, Islam or Buddhist or everything, as long as we all believe in some kind of woo. That was my hot take. Dread,
is that what your take is?
Dread. Boudreaux, I just want to say that is the sense that I had from talking with this person.
Okay.
That, you know,
I won. What did I win, Ty?
Nice. Dread. Dread, what do you think?
Well, it's almost like hedging your bet, right?
Yeah.
The way that Boudreaux's putting it. And it really does remind me of Pascal's wager in a sense, right? Is that, you know, rather than giving up belief completely, you're just kind of hedging your bet that you have more to gain in being right than if you choose the wrong thing and you go to hell. So it's like trying as hard as you can to believe in something that you can't maybe put your finger on, but you're hedging a bet that if there is something out there, you'll find favor with it in the end.
That is also a good point. I love the different takes on sufficiently religious as long as you're religious. Larry, what's your opinion on this?
It kind of gets me in that I hear this a lot, you know. Everybody believes in God their own way, you know, type of thing. Everybody just follows their faith and it's all good. But when it comes right down to it, the other guy's going to hell. I mean, but you never get down to that point with them. You never actually ask them, am I going to hell? You know, or they never come up to the point of saying it. But what do? I mean, it's not kumbaya at that point.
No. Right. No, there's only one ticket and only one winner. It's a heavenly American Idol, and there's only going to be one or nobody, right?
Yeah.
Scott, I'd like to hear from you the idea of sufficiently religious as long as you're religious. What does that mean to you? You're on mute, my friend. Because you're a clickety-clacketing.
Clickety and clackety. Okay.
Yeah.
So to me, just that statement kind of tells me, like, the key word there is sufficiently.
Yes.
So what that kind of rings a bell with me, it says that this is a moral issue.
Boom.
Because
you got my point.
Because the thing about it is, you could argue, well, there's all sorts of religious people that are bad people. Well, he said, I didn't say just religious people. I said sufficiently religious.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, he's kind of like setting it up already.
There's a standard for religion that he's using. So you can't just be religious. You have to be sufficient within my
religion. And if you're not sufficiently religious, you're not sufficiently moral.
Does he consider ISIS sufficiently religious?
Exactly.
Oh, man. Minefields, dude. Yes. George, what do you got?
You know, sometimes I feel like I suddenly don't know the meaning of a word, and I want somebody to define moral to me, because I blanked on it. You know,
I will say just standards of how to treat people in a social environment.
So isn't that ethics? I mean,
well, ethics and morals are tied together.
Yeah, ethics is the collection of the morals. So you have morals, which are the rules, morals, which is the system of applying the rules, and ethics, which is the combination of the rules together. So they're all branches on the same tree. It's just a question of how far up on the branch are you going.
I think you just defined that sufficiently well.
I appreciate it.
I'm too addle-brained to.
My point is very similar to Scott. I feel like he's making a moral judgment there. I think he's saying, like, hey, when I say sufficiently religious, I don't mean if you're, you know, like maybe he likes you if you're Jewish, Christian, or more Muslim, but if you go outside of the Abrahamic gods and you say, well, I believe in Vishnu or Shiva, well, it's like, well, that's not sufficiently religious in my book, because I don't know where your morals come from, because it's not coming from the same,
it's subjective,
base God.
That's what it says to me. It's subjective.
Yeah. And where are you getting that standard from? Though I do like, I have heard religious but not spiritual. I feel like that's sort of like an appeal to not offend. And I feel like I'm okay with anyone who's religious as long as they're sufficiently religious. There's an appeal to, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm okay if whatever God you believe in. I see the little bit in there. And I also see a little bit of Pascal's wager of like, yeah, maybe you're the right, maybe I'm right, but I know I'm right. That's the wager I took. But I do feel like there's a moral assessment going on there.
Yeah.
Speaking of, and that's why I think it's great, because once you hit the idea of atheism, he was a hard out. And so like, how does a guy like that manage to actually have a conversation with an atheist and not actually bail out on it?
You know, I didn't even say to him that I was an atheist.
He found out?
No, I concealed that because the thing was that, I mean, it was a very complex situation, really, because here I'm talking with a fellow from Lebanon who is he's an Arab, and he's a devout Muslim. He talked about his own marriage, that he had to wait until he found a Muslim girl who was sufficiently religious to be his wife. And he was so happy to have met a woman like this. And he was defiant against Israel. You know, he talked about having to live on his knees, and he was.
But George, the idea of like hiding you're an atheist, how did he find out that you're an atheist?
You were saying that once he found out about your religious stance, he was gone. What do you mean by that?
How did he find that out? How did he find out?
And what did he find out?
He got it by osmosis, I swear. He was, because I was not sufficiently enthusiastic. It was in my manner, it was in my demeanor.
In my head, I am now leaning towards more nefarious friend who's looking for a religious package to try to manipulate. Because all these conversations you're telling me about him, all these details you're explaining, he had to have told you that. And if he's not getting the same from you, it's almost as if he's selling the ideas to you and seeing what sticks. And as soon as he found that nothing sticks, he's like, great, I'm off to the next guy.
Well, I didn't get that sense from him.
True, but you're a nice guy, George.
Yeah.
What can I say? You're a nice guy. You're a nice guy. You were born an atheist. I was bathed in the flames of people trying to indoctrinate me from birth. And I got the red flags, baby. My spider reflexes are really good on that.
And it was so. I was so discouraged. I was so disappointed when this.
We're done with that friend. Friends in the bad group. We're moving on. But I have a sister who's Muslim, and I told her I was she knew I was an atheist like from the get go, and we have lots of conversations. Really great. Larry, I think we're at the bottom of the half.
We are.
When we come back, we're going to be talking about how to talk to an atheist and going into Scott's story.
Okay. This is the Digital Freethought Radio Hour on WOZO Radio, 103.9 LP FM, right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we'll be right back after this short break.
To the curious, the inquisitive, the seekers of knowledge, to the ones who just want to know about life, about the universe, about yourself. Not cute questions, big questions, ones that matter. To the rebels, the artists, the free thinkers, and the innovators who care less about labels and more about truth, who believe nonconformity is more than a bumper sticker, that knowledge is more than words on a page. You're young, you're old, you're powerful beyond measure, and the fuel of that power is not magic or mysticism, but knowledge. The things you see, the things you feel, the things you know to be true. Sure, some will doubt you. Let them. Dare to think for yourself, to look for yourself, to make up your own mind. Because in the eternal debate for answers, the one thing that's true is the power of logic.
Hello, and welcome back to the second half of the Digital Freethought Radio Hour. I'm Dr. Five, and we're on WOZO Radio. That's WOZO Radio, 103.9 LP FM, right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Today is May 30th, 2021. Let's talk about the Atheist Society of Knoxville, or ASK, which was founded in 2002. We're in our 19th year. ASK has over 1,000 members now, and we have weekly Zoom and in-person meetings. Starting at, I think that started May 11th, so they've had 2 of them now. We'll be meeting at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria in Knoxville's Old City out on the patio every Tuesday after work. So you can find us online on Facebook, meetup.com, or KnoxvilleAtheist.org. or just Google Knoxville Atheist. It's just that simple. Also, if you're interested in the Rationalists of East Tennessee, that's RET, just go to rationalist.org. By the way, if you don't live in Knoxville, you should still go to Meetup and search for an atheist group in your town. Don't find one? Start one. All right. Where do you want to pick up there, Wombat?
Hey, I want to get into Scott's own interview with our man Justin. I feel like we were looking for a reason for why he joined Islam. I know why. It's the sweet hat. Because when I saw him doing the interview with his other Muslim friends, I was like, "Ooh, that's a cool hat." And the friends had the hat, and he had the hat, and they looked brand new, and they even had the sticker on the side.
We need cool hats. Yeah.
You're not a religion or a cult until you have a cool hat, and I think atheists just need the cool hat. That's really what we needed from the beginning, right? Scott, how did the interview go, and what were your rules of engagement, or at least thoughts in your head to make sure the conversation stayed respectful?
Right. So what I did is, before we even went live, we all met, we met and we had a little discussion, and I told him, this is not a debate. I'm not here to throw gotcha questions at you. And I asked him, are you familiar with street epistemology? Which of course he was. He's been a big figure in the atheist community, at least in some circles. And so he was very familiar with Anthony Magnabosco and, different street epistemologists. And he used to practice it too, back when he was an atheist, I guess. So he was familiar. He knew it was going to be what the rules were from the beginning. He kind of understood all that going in. So that was a good thing. And, and so going from there, I just kind of wanted to set the interview up, and be really cordial with him and give him props where it was due and just kind of help him relax, because let me tell you, he's been having a lot of problems with different atheists in the community. Even Matt Dillahunty went at it surrounding his conversion. So he's just got this idea that, I was so disillusioned, I thought atheists were my friends and the community was going to hold me down. But once I flipped, now they're all attacking me and lying about me and all of this stuff. So I wanted to let them know, at least here, you're not going to get that kind of treatment, so we can talk, and have a productive conversation.
Sure. It sounds like, and I would say this again, one of my New Year's resolutions for 2020 was to get off social media, including like YouTube and stuff, and just deal with what I can handle in like a weekly or daily format without anyone telling me what to pay attention to. And it's done marvelous work in terms of my mental health. And I feel like when someone makes a transition, like from even Christian to atheist or atheist into Muslim, that's, in my opinion, a very personal transformation. And to introduce that on a global stage with an audience where people are weighing in on a very vulnerable transition for you, I can imagine that being a very, very traumatic experience where you don't know who your friends are, and you make yourself even more willing to bite down on whatever conclusion you jump to, regardless of how reasonably you went there. And so I feel like I'm seeing that in that transition. But overall, you had a conversation with Justin. Did it go well? Did it go badly? I don't really know the update on it.
Okay, it went really well. Basically, I was just asking some general questions, going into his history a little bit. He was raised a Catholic, baptized when he was a teenager, then got out of it when he was around 16 years old. Then he went into, I guess, a Methodist church is what it was. And then he kind of got disillusioned with that. And then he became a hard atheist, as he describes himself. I just asked, go ahead.
Hard atheism I have a question about, but Dredd, you had a comment. What's going on?
Well, it just seems to me that he couldn't have truly been an atheist, because you know what I'm saying? Well, the reason I say that is because it sounds like he was on the fence. He wasn't jiving with Christianity, and that because of the huge difference, or the big difference between Islam and Christianity,
Sure.
it's really a transition from one to the other with a sort of a void in between the two. So that's
Right.
not truly atheism, maybe agnosticism.
Dred, can I weigh in on this? Because I think this
Sure.
is a good segue. Larry, please correct me on this, but in my opinion, an atheist is just someone who's not convinced of a God claim. And you can be not convinced for a period of time and then convinced in another God.
Yeah.
So like, as long as you're not convinced, that's an atheist in my book. What do you think, Larry?
Mhm.
Well, that's why I particularly asked him why what reason did he give for saying he left atheism for a God?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it comes right down to us. All of us atheists want a good reason. If there's a
Yes.
God out there, we want to know about it. I mean,
Right.
we want good reasons. We want evidence. We want something that's repeatable, testable.
Right. Yep.
What reason does he have? That's one of the reasons that anybody says I used to be an atheist. That's the first place I go. What
Yes.
convinced you that a God was real?
Exactly.
Rather
And
than them just saying it was a nicer religion than the other one.
Right.
And you can be an atheist with very low standards of being convinced of something being true, which was
Right.
probably what got him back onto the religious train. But in my head, if you aren't convinced that anything's true, I'm willing to give you the credence that you're an atheist. But I don't care what you call yourself. I care if you have a high standard of truth.
Right.
And if you have a high standard of
Evidence.
truth as a Christian, it tends to filter you out towards wherever I'm at. And if you have a high standard of truth as an atheist, it tends to filter you out to wherever I'm at, because I have a high standard of truth and I care what I believe is true. And I don't want to believe in false things. I don't have the best standard, but I at least know that I don't know is the best answer until I have a good
Mhm.
reason to believe things. And I don't think Justin was on that page yet. And that's probably why
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
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 It's an unfortunate thing that can happen to atheists. That's why I'm saying. Larry.
A lot of having a high standard of truth is having a high standard of evidence. If you have a low standard of evidence, in other words, if anecdotal stories meet your standard of evidence, then you have a low standard of evidence. And the Bible is made up of nothing but anecdotal stories. It's all
Right.
secondhand. And David Hume taught us a long time ago that we can't believe miracle claims because people are more prone to lie than the laws of the universe are to change, even for an
Yes.
instant.
Hey, that's a greatly well-stated sentiment. Though, Budjo, love to hear you weigh in on this. The idea that atheists are just as an atheist with a low standard of truth is just as prone to self-delusionment as someone who, is fully religious and has a low standard of truth. And in my opinion, it's that standard that needs to be increased first, not the label, right? Because you could be an atheist and have terrible. I'm sorry if I'm talking over you. Boudreaux, what's your thoughts on what we're talking about?
No, I actually tracked most of that. Sorry, I had some distractions in the background, so I killed the video for a moment. But
was it the dog or the kids? I must know. Was it the dog
or the ghost?
The dog. The dog was one. No, I totally agree with what you're saying. I think it sounds like that's what's at play here, and maybe even a little bit of, hearing his history. Kind of leaving religion in a teenage year time frame. And that's rebellion. That's there are other. Atheism is a cool rebel tag to go with. So yeah,
it can be hip.
Yeah,
Yep.
I didn't catch from what little we know about his history. I didn't catch any sincerity to his atheism. Although being big into street epistemology, and I mean, does he have any recordings from back when he was an atheist?
Oh, yeah. He is so I thought he was very artful and skilled at logical thinking. I actually learned a lot in some of the things he said just by watching his channel and being a part of a lot of that stuff with him. So it came as a real big surprise because the same things he used to criticize theists for, he's now practicing that. I asked him, one of the things he'd say, what's a good reason to be a Christian? And, let the Christian tell you, hellfire or blah, or because it's true, or because it'll make you a moral person, and he would point out how those are bad reasons to conclude that the thing is true. Right. So he understands all that. So when I asked him, I turned the question around on him. So why should an unbeliever become a Muslim? What's the best reason? And he says, well, because it makes sense. Again, it just makes sense.
Sense
And-
to him.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. I really, I don't know where to go with that, to be quite honest with you.
I will let George weigh in on this. George, you're on mute, my friend. Take yourself out.
You know, what I'm hearing is that he has a fundamental need to believe. You know, it's down to an emotional logic, and I don't know. I think I'm now talking philosophically myself. It's a very deep need that a lot of us have. You know, to be part of something that is larger than ourselves. That's
just
all I have to say.
the genetic fabric of trying to be a social creature, more or less, is what
Yes, indeed. And you know, I don't want to go off on this, but we're afraid of death. We're afraid of our own death.
Sure.
And we're afraid of the deaths of the people who brought us into existence, and
or at least are meaningful to us.
Yeah, exactly. And so underlying a lot of, let's say, beliefs are this fundamental belief that I'm talking about. And so there's the urge to believe. I would like to believe, you know, I just can't, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. I'll go out.
I'd like to weigh in on just one quick thing. I think there's a fundamental need for attention here too. You have a guy who has a YouTube channel trying to get more subscribers, and when he transitions, or at least considering it, you have a group that's like, was his original audience, that's like, no, what are you doing? That makes no sense. You're doing it badly. Like, I'm telling you critically that this doesn't make sense. And then you have the other group that's like, we're going to make you're going to be our poster boy for all the people who are going to wear this hats. You're incredible. You're awesome. You're great. And when you have that, you have the competition between a hard truth and a delicious lie. And delicious lies win 9 out of 10 times, baby. It's why we are where we're at right now. It's how all marketing works. It makes you feel good and makes you like, oh, I want that fancier car that does exactly nothing for me. Larry, what do you got?
Well, one thing you mentioned a little earlier was that we have this need for something larger than us built into us genetically. A lot of people believe that, and I think that's true because for most of our formative years, if not all of them, we had someone larger than us that we could depend on. Our parents, our father, our mother. Matter of fact, if you look at the symbolism and the wording of a lot of the the religions of the world, God is our Father in heaven. Yeah. You know, and the Catholic Church is really bad about that, because they then make the priests your father and the nuns your sisters, and all of that, and of course Mother Mary. So I mean,
no one talks about Mother Mary. Everyone only cares about the fathers. In fact, I want to make that a show. Like, why couldn't Mary just be the savior? Why did it have to be?
I believe they do talk about that.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to know. I want to talk about that. I got opinions, but
that's all I say. That's all I say.
No, that's true. Scott, what's your weigh in?
Yeah, I was just going to say, everything you guys are saying have been charged or hurled against him in his groups and on his channel, and all of probably, I'd say maybe 95% of the atheists that used to follow him are saying, oh, he's just doing this for attention. Right. He's just trying to remarket himself, rebrand himself as something else. This has caused a lot of war, because apparently Justin's been very angry about that accusation. So he's been really on the tear about that and fighting that whole idea. So the other thing is that he says behind the scenes, he says, no, my reasons for becoming a Muslim is because of the Kalam cosmological argument. And
that doesn't get you any.
and the hard problem of consciousness. Those two things.
The Kalam
So when I asked
cosmological
them
argument
why,
is your Sam Harris. Just throwing this out. If you mentioned that 4 out of 5 shows, we can go to that. And George, just so you know, we've defined it on multiple instances. We know the problem with that argument. Larry, do you want to hit it again?
The cosmological argument just says it's going to be a God. There has to be a God. I mean, he could have stayed in Christianity. He could have gone back to Christianity. And
at the end of the day, it's just an assertion.
Yeah, and
it's just an assertion because
he could have been a deist at the end of the day. You know,
on my interview, I asked him, "How do you go from there?" You know, let's say I told him, I said, "Okay, I grant you that everything that started to exist. Let's just pretend like the universe started to exist. Okay,
and that's a big
how
grant.
do you go from that? Right, and that's a big grant, right?
That's a very big grant.
Even if that was true, and I asked him, how do you go from that to Allah? And he never answered the question. It was just a lot of dancing around.
Yeah. Oh man. Anyway, it did sound like, remember, we were talking about the topic of the show is rules of engagement, how to show respect, how to get atheists on your show. It sounds like you had an agreed upon format of the questions that you would be asking and the tone that you would be asking them in before you even had the interview begin. And I think that's a good way to start a conversation with an atheist, especially if you have different faiths on the show, because no one wants to feel like they're being attacked and no one wants to feel like they're being immediately judged or part of an interrogation. And so when I had my interview with that Christian way back when, I had it in black and white writing. This is what I want to talk about. Please don't preach at me. He did preach at me, but I made sure in the interview, it was like, you told me you wouldn't, and this is breaking those rules. And he's like, well, I'm upset. I'm like, that's not my problem. Anything else? He's like, well, I'm going to end the interview. I was like, great. I'd love to leave too. And that was more or less the end of it. But I at least had that record. And I think managing and respecting those rules of engagement, very important. Boudreaux, it's nice to see George with you. Just wanted to give him a chance to say, hey, what's up before we head out. But
hey,
Boudreaux, tell me about your interview with John, if you can summarize in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, like I think a big part of it was talking about how I got to where I am in atheism and, kind of that backstory, which I don't know. I think that's when you're talking about how to talk to an atheist. I think that's usually a good opener, a good starting point to
know you as a person.
Yeah, because we got George here who's not really indoctrinated with anything, and we've got folks from all different walks and different religions, different parts of the country. So I think that's a good kind of opener, and you get to know the person's journey a little bit. I do think it's important to have them admit that everyone's born an atheist, and you do.
Yes.
We all were atheists, and then some stay or some back and forth. So it was a neat conversation. Yeah,
I love that you made that point. I actually have some people on YouTube who take these conversations that we have over Zoom and cut them so that they can make arguments against me or street epistemology. Like there's a whole practice session that does like, let's look at the latest critical video on Thai and see how we can like crop it out. And it'll be like clips of me being from YouTube being like, yeah, eating babies is awesome. And that'll probably be its own clip later. But I do like the idea of making sure that people understand that we were born atheists. I think that is like the most crucial give possible, because that is the case. You weren't born, quoting scripture. You weren't born saying praise Jesus or whatever. You didn't have a God belief. And then someone down the road convinced you that a God was true. And then that's what you believed until you read, in my opinion, which is atheism. George,
I like that idea of eating babies. Can I get a baby sandwich at Subway?
A foot-long baby sandwich.
Anything in veal. Anything with veal.
Any other George? Love to get your weigh in, final thoughts before we get ready to close the show.
I hate to waste the time because I just jumped in here, but I would just say that I recently heard an argument about a new book that sounds really interesting. It's called Attention Marketing, and it talks about modern marketing, which I think religions have always been involved in attention marketing, but it's something you might just Google and see what you think.
Fair enough.
I like that.
Other George Brown, is there anything that you would recommend that we check out before next week?
No. Baby sandwiches sound really good to me. I want
baby
one.
sandwiches.
Yeah.
Really good to you? Wonderful.
The
wonderful.
bones are soft.
What if I told you all meat that you're eating is basically from babies, just non-humans? There's your crux. Can't wait for babies to grow up. It's the truth. Now we see the real reaction. That's what you have to see. You have to see it does hurt a little bit. Dread, what do you got? What's coming up in the future?
Well, of course, you can find my stuff here on my YouTube channel, Mind Pirate. And thank you, Larry, for posting it on your webpage there or your Facebook page. Hopefully, I'm looking for 100 subscribers. I've got 88, so I've got 12 to go. So please sign up. That way I can modify my channel.
Nice.
And I'm reading a book right now from Steven Pinker. It's called How the Mind Works. So I've just gotten into it, and it's really, really excellent. If anyone's ever read any of Steven Pinker's stuff, I would heavily recommend this book. So
wonderful. Scott, what's coming up in the horizon?
All right. So the single's going to be dropping soon, but you can get a preview of it. Go to dubshine.bandcamp.com. I uploaded it yesterday for everybody to check it out. Other than that, we're going to keep on working on the Exploring Epistemology channel, hopefully every Friday.
And I got a spot on there coming up soon, right?
That's right. You'll be on there next. So
Nice.
I'm looking forward to that. And that's going to be on the Borg Skeptic channel. So if you just search Borg Skeptic in YouTube, you'll pull it up and you'll see the channel or the show, Exploring Epistemology. We
may have to do a session on just how to make a YouTube channel name. They got to be easy to say. They can't be like, it's just Borg Skeptic with 16 Ks. It's like they're we'll get into it. You can find my stuff on Let's Chat. You're probably here now. Buffalo, what do you got?
This is just to correct that it's attention merchandising, and it has very much to do with what you just said.
Yeah. I deliberately picked Let's Chat to just keep it as simple and casual, as non-intimidating as possible, because that's what I'm all about. Larry, take us out. What's going on with you?
Well, there was a few things that I were going to mention about how to talk to an atheist, but we never did get.
Well, I don't even know what atheism is all about, so how am I supposed to figure that out?
Well, atheism, I have a book called Atheism, What's It All About? It's available on Amazon.
I got you.
There it is. You can see it. That's the picture of my daughter, by the way.
Oh, really? You never told me that.
Yeah.
First time I knew that.
Yeah.
Okay.
My own content is on digitalfreethought.com. Be sure to click on the blog it button for main content. Radio show archive, atheist songs, and many articles on the subject are found there. My YouTube channel is found by just searching for Larry Rhodes or Doubter 5. Either one will get you there. If you have any questions for the show, send them to askanatheist@knoxvilleatheist.org, and we'll answer them on future shows. If you're having trouble leaving religious beliefs behind, you can find help at recoveringfromreligion.org. They help a lot of people. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. This has been the Digital Freethought Radio Hour for another Wednesday. Remember, everybody is going to somebody else's hell. The time to worry about it is when they prove that heavens and hells and souls are real. Until then, don't sweat it. Enjoy your life. We'll see you next week. Say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.